Hello, good to see everyone, quasi-virtually at least. My name is Jim Doyle. I'm a solutions consultant here at Protello, and my role is to help align companies with the right NetSuite solutions based on their requirements. I'm a NetSuite certified administrator, certified ERP consultant through Oracle. Actually worked for NetSuite directly before coming to Protello, where I supported their manufacturing and distribution team, really specialized in supply chain process optimization. And as you can imagine, most of these companies that I worked with, a lot of capital equipment, so have a lot of experience with the business challenges and the NetSuite solution that we're going to be looking at today, which is the fixed asset management module. Quick agenda. I want to give a quick overview of what the module actually consists of in NetSuite, discuss some of the challenges that it's designed to address, and then we'll walk through a demonstration of that full asset lifecycle and all the automation and reporting that we'll be able to take advantage of. And then we'll use the rest of the time for questions. Although, like Sari said, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll pause periodically and address those too as they come up.
Yeah, and I see we just have a few more members, Jim. So I'm just going to one more time let everybody know that you guys are all on mute. Feel free to use the Q&A section to type in any of your questions. Everything is only visible to the hosts, so you guys can't see each other's questions unless we go ahead and type an answer. Then they're visible to everybody. We can also get back to you via email with an answer if you'd prefer. But please, let us know throughout any questions you have. We want this to be interactive, even though you guys can't speak, because we did just invite a small group, and we want really to hear from you. So back to you, Jim.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Sari. All right, so let's start with just a quick overview of some of the key features that we're talking about. This solution automates that entire life cycle of an asset, from the creation all the way through to disposal, including not just periodic depreciations, but also revaluations, splitting, transfers. It's all directly integrated with your general ledger, as are all NetSuite modules. So no longer having to calculate these depreciations in Excel and then creating manual journal entries in NetSuite. All that's automated. Saves a ton of time, reduces a lot of errors, and then from a reporting standpoint, there's out-of-the-box reports that are going to give you visibility searches, but you can also create your own or customize the existing ones. I see that a lot with folks looking to manage operational considerations with their assets, like preventative maintenance schedules, warranties, custodial responsibilities, things like that. This module is going to bring that fixed asset management right into your NetSuite, and so you're going to be managing it along with your other processes in a similar manner, using that dashboard that y'all should be familiar with. This slide outlines the leading practices for managing these asset life cycles. So starting from the beginning, assets can be created manually or imported, or they can be triggered by a NetSuite transaction, such as a purchase order, item receipt, vendor bills. I think there's 6 or 7 transactions that can trigger an asset proposal. So if I receive in an item that is tied to a fixed asset account, the system is going to propose the creation of an asset record for that item. And it's going to auto-populate certain attributes on that record based on the type of asset it is. So I don't have to go in and manually enter in different attributes, different values every time I create an asset. It'll be a little bit more efficient that way. Once I create or once I accept the asset proposal and the system generates the asset record, that asset listing, that'll be our single source of truth for that particular asset. And then from there, I can view my general information, depreciation schedules, net book value, costs, expenses, maintenance and warranty information, all sorts of data automatically aggregated and always real time. And then we're going to automate our periodic depreciations. So at the end of the month, I just have to click a few buttons to generate the journal entries for all my assets. And if I need to, I can also revalue, transfer, and then when we get to that end of life or when we go to sell it, that asset disposal as well. It's designed to allow you to do all these from easy to use screens as well instead of having to create journal entries. We give easy screens and then it'll automate the journal entry in the back end. So let's walk through this. I'm going to switch over. Go. And Sari, let me know if I need to zoom in or anything. Should be looking at my NetSuite account right now. I am currently logged in as a controller. So have my dashboard, all my pre-configured reminders, KPIs, navigation shortcuts that y'all are going to be familiar with. And now I also have a tab for fixed assets. Opening that up, this fixed asset center is going to be my one-stop shop for all my asset management and reporting. So I've got quick links over here to set up depreciation methods, alternate methods, my different asset types. I have links for all my different transactions down here. So being able to create assets, like I said, depreciate, dispose, revalue, split, transfer. We'll revisit these in a minute when we walk through them. And then also being able to manage leased equipment, generating schedules, recording interest. These are some of the newer features. There's been a lot of enhancements around the lease accounting within NetSuite. So we're seeing a lot of enhancement to those with each release, which is exciting. And then finally down here, I have a report wizard that I can use to generate or customize the pre-configured reports and the saved searches that come out of the box. Here's some of the saved searches that we're going to see. We'll walk through some of the more valuable ones, but just additions, any disposals, quick save searches, and you can adjust those just like you can with your current NetSuite save searches that you're using. Prominently displayed here in the center of my screen, I also have my asset list. So I can see a list of all my current assets, right? I have the name, description. I can see that asset type. I can see my original cost, my current net book value, always real time, and then my depreciation method. Now I can also filter this. I can add columns if I want to. I can adjust the view. I can filter by asset type if I want to look at just my machinery and equipment, or filter by asset status, or add in my own filters. So if you have hundreds, thousands of assets, you can use those different fields to filter in and bring in what you want to look at. And now if I'll drill in to one of these asset records, we'll actually take a look at what one of these fixed asset records looks like in NetSuite. So here's our asset record for a delivery truck at our Boston location. So here I'm able to capture serial number information. We have that asset type. Again, that is going to default some values when we create the asset, so I don't have to fill in everything manually. And then it's also going to be used in my reporting when I go to print out or generate my different fixed asset reports. I can always filter by the asset type. I can always see my current and my original cost, residual value, all my depreciation method information. I can adjust that upon creation or throughout if I need to. And like I said, real-time visibility into that current net book value as we continue to depreciate, revalue, and ultimately dispose of the asset. Down here in my general tab, and I'm not going to hit everything on this page, but I'll kind of hit the high points. We're going to retain all that segmentation, which is going to flow through to our journal entries. I can also assign a custodian just to make sure we're maintaining accountability of this item. Pull that out and save search so we can see who's responsible for what. Just a quick snapshot of our last depreciation, start and end of our depreciations, last depreciation date and amount. The depreciation schedule is actually going to be automatically generated when you create the asset based on your depreciation method and the lifetime and a couple other things. And then over here, this is important. So linkage back to the original transactions when we purchased this truck. So if I do need to go reach out to that supplier or I need to pull any sort of information from the original transaction, I have that linkage here. And then that's also going to kind of go hand in hand with the creation process when I go to create an asset based on a vendor bill tied to a fixed asset item. It's all going to be, that's kind of ties the bow all together right there. I can also input insurance policy information along with any maintenance schedules. So maintenance schedules here, I've also got some warranty information, including that warranty end date. There are also reminders tied back to these insurance and maintenance tabs to make sure, so I can make sure that I don't miss any payments. I don't let my insurance expire, or I don't void my warranty because I miss some preventative maintenance that we should have been hitting quarterly or whatever that may be. Again, we define it here and then let my dashboard notify me when it's time to act on these. I can also, we see components and sub-assets. These two tabs allow me to build out relationships between multiple assets or linkage between two related items. If I want to track, for example, the engine or the motor separately from the truck itself, I want to track those, or I replace it. You know, the lifetimes are different, so I need to track those separately, but they need to stay linked. I can do that here. I can record any income or expense generated through this asset, our usage. When I go to sell or dispose of it, I'll be able to see that information right here on the asset record, and then our depreciation history. And this is going to have our primary accounting method for depreciation, but I can also assign alternate methods for tax purposes or for whatever reason. You know, obviously just our primary is going to be GL posting, but we can still run off all our reports for our tax depreciation method if we want to. We can see the depreciation start and end date. And if I go into the depreciation history, I'm going to be able to see all the scheduled depreciation. So this is a 5-year life on this truck. I can see it goes all the way to 2026. Let's go back to our current depreciations. Here we go. So we can see where this truck was acquired. July of 2021. It's an acquisition, it's that initial amount. And then all down here, we can see those journal entries as we are depreciating based on that schedule automatically at the end of each month. And we'll walk through how to do that here in a second. But this is probably the thing that, you know, brings most people to and asking questions around the fixed asset management is around the depreciations. And certainly a huge part to automate all this is really helpful. To get out of the spreadsheets is nice. But there's a lot more beyond just that the module is going to accomplish. If we had any revaluations, transfers, we'd see those journal entries here as well. So it's basically the entire history of this item captured in one place. So now I'm going to stop for a second and breathe and see if we have any questions. Looks like I have 2 here. And Sarah, you can let me know if you have any others. I see one question's asking if we can attach files or receipts to the asset record. And yeah, record's going to behave very similar to other NetSuite records, so you can attach files to it, just like you would with a customer or an item. And then I see what depreciation methods are available. Good question. So let me go back quickly to the depreciation methods. Here's the out of the books depreciation methods and the formulas that go with those. So I don't know exactly how many are out of the box. Some of these, I believe, may have only apply to leases. No, it looks, well, we've got some that are also international. I'm in a one world account right now, so I may have some international depreciation methods in there, but can see list. All right, so let's move on to the transactions then. So we've seen the asset record, but how are these records created? So back in my fixed asset center here, and I'm going to come down to my transactions. There's a couple different ways to have those records be created, to create those records in the system manually, CSV import, or we can use this proposal process as we receive in new items and equipment. And this manage proposals page, this is going to allow me to see all the different incoming transactions that could trigger the creation of an asset record. NetSuite does this by filtering down to transactions with line items and those line items are tied to fixed asset accounts. So that's how, out of all the hundreds of POs or vendor bills that we're processing in a week, the system's going to identify those that have an item, and it's going to recommend, hey, this looks like something we want to capitalize, and then it'll queue right on my proposals page. So this laptop doesn't end up sitting in an office somewhere or sitting in a storage closet as your warehouses, they're transacting in the system. It's triggering you to see what we've received and then generate asset records based on that. These asset proposals, and just to see, we've got several of them. I can filter these by asset type or by subsidiary. I can then look and see, it's going to automatically default like our accounting method, some other fields. That's all based on the asset type. So if I open up this proposal, this isn't an asset yet, it's just the proposal, but the system is recognizing this is type machinery and equipment, which means it can default accounting method, residual values, lifetime, the default accounts for all the GL automation. We don't want to have to enter this in every time the system's recommending we create an asset, so that asset type helps default those values in. And so from there, I can review the recommendations, I can adjust any that I need to, but ultimately all I'm doing is reviewing, making those adjustments, which should be minimal since I have all my asset types set up, and then boom, going in and generating those asset records. Easy as that, and that's going to create the asset list that we just went through. Now, once we have the assets created, let's walk through a couple of these others. So depreciation first, and up this page. All right, so at the end of the period, we'll see how many clicks this takes. All I need to do to depreciate my assets is go into this page, select the asset types I want to depreciate, and if I don't select any, it's just going to do them all. Select my subsidiary, the period we want to depreciate for. We can do our end of month, and then depreciate. It's going to generate journals, just like we saw on that asset list. That's going to depreciate all those different asset types. So it was 3 or 4 clicks to create those depreciation journals for all of our assets. And again, you can do it by type if you want to, by subsidiary certainly, but a lot more efficient than doing it in Excel and trying to manually capture it in your accounting system, manual journal entries. Back to our truck. Check my own work here. If I come back and I take a look at that depreciation history, should see, takes a second to process, but we should now see for that May period that journal entry. Yeah, so there we go. So posting that 531 depreciation, if I open up that journal that the system just generated, I can see that it's doing it at a summary level for the different asset types. And so it's all going to be consolidated and easy to access for traceability purposes. Right. So that's our asset depreciations. The next thing that I may want to do is, just closing out my tabs here before they get out of control, would be revaluation. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the whole concept is system wants to give you an easy page where you input certain values and then generate the journal entry automatically. So all I have to do is select my delivery truck. It's going to pull in, again, that header information so I can see the description, serial number, current net book value, asset type, and then I can input my write-down percentage, let the system calculate that amount for each of my depreciation methods, or I can override that amount and input my own, as well as adjust the residual value, the lifetime, and then if I wanted to adjust the depreciation method, I could do so as well. And when I hit process revaluation, just like with our depreciations, it's going to generate those journal entries. Really easy. If I want to transfer assets, another similar, again, similar looking page. I'm selecting the asset that I want to transfer. Now, there needs to be a journal entry associated with this, even though I may just be changing or reassigning it to a different department, class, or location. When I do select that new segment, when we do send this Boston truck to Denver, and I process that transfer, it's going to generate the journal entry that's going to just reapply the new segments to it. So we're going to be taking out the net book value as well as the accumulated depreciation. And the system is also going to do a catch-up journal entry at that point so that if your assets aren't updated fully, their depreciations haven't been run for the last couple months for whatever reason, it'll catch that up prior to your transfer date so that it's a clean cut over to that new segmentation. Really helpful to control that. And then the final transaction would be if we wanted to dispose of it when we do get to that end of life. Couple different options here for disposing, actually two to be precise. I can sell it or I can write it off. If I sell it, then I'm also going to have to select, of course, the asset. I can see my cost, current net book value, always real time. I'd have to input my sales amount, select the customer and the item, and then the system will generate the invoice transaction and all the journal that needs to happen to reconcile that and make sure that we're moving this off our books for recognizing that. All right, let me, so that hits all our, so we've created now the asset. We've gone through the transactions. Split would just be if it's multiple, like 10 laptops, and we want to take 5 of them, split them off, and go, reassign them to a different location for a new sales team. Would be an example of split. But walked through the transactions. Now, before I transition kind of into the reporting segment, let me check and see if there are any questions here in the chat. Okay, I have a question about the custodian update being done in batches. Yeah, so that you can use CSV import process to update all those fields on that asset record. Or outside of class, well, if you needed to do class, department, or location, then that would require going through the transfer process. But if it's just updating the custodian, then you can do that via an import process.
Thanks, Jim.
I think that's the one.
Yeah, I think it was just the same question. Anyone else have
Perfect.
anything they'd like to add on what's been covered already? Like I said, feel free, Q&A or chat is fine too.
Saving them for the reporting. We can go into that now then. All right, so far we've seen lots of data being captured on those asset records. That helps with all the financial automation. Now I'm going to use my report generator to package that data based on pre-configured templates that still allow me to tailor it depending on how I want to present that. So down here is my going to allow me to generate my different types of reports. Here's a list of the pre-configured reports that come out of the box. Asset register is going to show me costs, accumulated depreciation, net book value for each asset, so very detailed, all the way up to a summary, which is going to show me the same information, but classified by asset type. And then I've got a couple other depreciation schedule reports that show current values, depreciation by period, depreciation expense by asset. So it's really just how you want to slice and dice it. So I can select the report type. I can input my periods if we want to look at a month, a year. I can input my start and end date, filter down by asset type. If we want to look at just machinery and equipment, we'll do the past year. Select class if I need to, subsidiary location. You'll are familiar with those segments. And then when I generate it, it's going to create that. I can create it in PDF or XML. And just to go through a couple of these, here's that asset register report. This is going to show for all my different assets. These are the individual assets detailed. I can see my depreciation start date, my beginning balance, that net book value driven by cost and depreciations, and then all the different acquisitions, sales or disposals, depreciations, transfers, revaluations, anything that happens that could impact that net book value for the period we're looking at. I can see there, and then I can see the resulting net book value. So good little snapshot for all the different individual assets. Now I can also look at a summary report. This is going to show me similar information, except these are all my different asset types. So each consisting of a whole bunch of different assets. I can see beginning balance, ending balance, and then all the different transactions in between. This is just for the costs. I could see the same for the depreciations, and then also the net book value. So here for all our different types, beginning net book value, ending net book value, and then all those different transactions that can impact that. The depreciation schedule reports are going to give me more of a kind of time phased, period by period. So here is a depreciation schedule. I'm looking at just my machinery and equipment for these 3 years, 21, 22, 23. So I can see for each of these assets for 2021, what our depreciation schedule by month looks like. Same for our current year, and then even looking forward into that future year. So being able to see that, pull that, and this is net book value. So let me step back. This isn't the depreciation amount. This is the value of the assets. This next report looks very similar. This is the periodic depreciation. So now we're looking at period over period depreciation schedule. So you kind of get the idea with the asset record and then the depreciation schedules. Ton of reports that can be created. These are PDF, can of course be printed, saved. Now, if you want to adjust these, you can customize the report templates for those kind of PDF reports. And then also keep in mind you have saved searches that y'all are familiar with, can be exported, can be scheduled to run and send out to a distro list. So if you do have I need to stop talking and clicking at the same time. So if you do have a list of folks who need certain reporting packages, being able to schedule those searches to go out to them, however periodically they need that, is certainly something you can do. Here's our asset list search that just shows all the different assets, some different fields, when it was purchased, original cost, current cost, net book value, all our depreciation info. The asset register is going to show, similar to the PDF register, it'll show us for each of these what our original cost is, and then all the different transactions and resulting net book value based on the period that we select in our filters. So if you do want to just not generate the PDFs using the report builder, then you can always use the save searches and then use your various export or scheduler or email options too. Really easy to do that. This list of disposals, list of any additions. So this would be all the new assets that we've created over the past And all these reminders and save searches, remember, now we can pull those back onto our dashboard. So here I see, just back on my dashboard, I have fixed asset management. I have inspections due. I have insurance due, if you remember those tabs. In my KPIs, now I have fixed assets. I can drill in and see what my fixed assets, what my accumulated depreciation is at a summary level, and then down into the detail report, as you can with pretty much all your KPIs. And then even dropping in a little custom search, or not custom, actually, we can use out of the box. These are all our different out of the box searches. Pretty good list there. If I wanted one that just is going to do my, asset proposals. So as we're receiving in asset proposals, as we're receiving in POs and generating receipts and vendor bills, I can put that right on my dashboard and see, okay, these are 3 asset proposals that I need to look at. Maybe they go into my reminders, whatever's best for you, whatever makes you most efficient. All right. I'll sum up really quickly here, and then we can spend the rest of the time, Sari, on those Q&As. Just have one more recap slide here. So now that I've brought my entire fixed asset management process into NetSuite, it's going to fit seamlessly in with the rest of my responsibilities. No more spreadsheets, no more manual work. I'll be more efficient, and overall, we'll have much better visibility given the reporting that we can do and what we're capturing in real time. And that pretty much covers it. The only additional component I would add is the asset creation. That proposal process can be triggered by transactions, vendor bills, receipts. That is going to make sure that I'm not missing items that are coming in. We get them on the books, we start depreciating, and then I'm not having to catch up 3 months later when we find it and realize we haven't been tracking it in our spreadsheet. And then we didn't address it today in as much detail, but the lease accounting feature that was introduced in fixed asset management is designed to help comply with IFRS 16, ASC 842 standards for lease. It allows you to recognize nearly all your leases and transfer all your operating leases to your balance sheet, which I think was required as of 2019. So if that's also a requirement you have, certainly worth further discussion with Sari and see if we can get that solution aligned for you. And so at this point, I will say thank you everyone for listening and for sending in questions as it did. Let's see if there's any questions, Sari. We can use the remainder of our time here. I think we have 7 or 8 minutes just to see if we have any questions in here.
Sure. So one question that came over, is there a maximum number of assets that can be tracked or any limitations by NetSuite?
Great question. Yeah, so the bundle doesn't come with a limit to the number of assets it can handle, but you do have to take into account processing across subsidiaries. If you have multiple subsidiaries, may slow down the scripts. If you do have a Suite Cloud Plus license, then you can use that multi-queue feature that just optimizes and makes those depreciations run quicker. And then you can also group by asset type when you're processing your depreciations, if you need to. But I've had customers with thousands and thousands of items that they've used fixed asset management for, and so yeah, I would say it's not a defined limit, but you have to understand how you're processing them and what the most efficient way is. Thanks, Sari.
Great. One more question here. Can I group assets together to more easily manage them?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. And there's a couple different ways to group assets. I would say first is the asset type. All those different screens where we're doing our depreciations, and that asset type is kind of the go-to for filtering, and our reporting too. You saw it. So asset type. You can also, when you say group, if you do need to build what we call a compound asset, which is taking multiple individual assets and consolidating them so you can track each individually, but then also manage depreciations for the top level group, then you can do that too. It's very flexible, I would say, and so as far as grouping, couple different options there. Yeah, I think I hit that. I think that probably hopefully answered the question.
Hopefully, if not, somebody will let us know. I am sending you a message now, or a question now, Jim, and then you can see if that's something that can be answered now or later. Maybe I'll just say it here. Can you use the
Yeah.
fields from fixed assets to create custom searches outside of the fixed assets module? So are those fields accessible now for all types of searches?
So yes, you can create your. So when you go to create a new save search, if you're doing it from scratch, you have your different save search types. So there are a bunch of different fixed asset save search types you can use to create your own. And then if those assets are linked back to, we saw they were linked to a purchase order or a vendor bill, or a custodian that is an employee record. If you do have records that are linked to it, then most of those are going to be available to pull in just via the natural joins in the record structure. Yeah, so you could pull in asset record with your employee data based on the custodian that's linked to that asset record. I think that hopefully answered the question.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll be reaching out, and then we're also going to be editing this a little and making it available for you guys to view and maybe share with your colleagues if needed. I really appreciate everybody's time, and I look forward to speaking with you.